This TikTok prank just despawned him, game ended him. Sorry for sounding disrespectful, maybe. I just don't want to really get demonetized, because YouTube demonetization is demonizing. But this is horrible, disturbing, and just shows that TikTok pranks need to stop. Let's watch it.
This TikToker just lost
Oh, that's a little bit loud, I'm sorry.
his life during a TikTok prank, and it's all from an old trend that everyone did growing up that has been slightly altered for TikTok in a more reckless way.
Like, what? The cinnamon challenge? Ice bucket challenge? By the way, cinnamon challenge is actually banned over here on Twitch because it is dangerous to do.
So, what happened? Well, this man shot an 18-year-old over a ding-dong ditch video, and it's
He shot someone for a ding-dong ditch. He just rang someone's bell. Is that it? Is that actually it?
this way. So, what happened? Well, this man shot an 18-year-old over a ding-dong ditch video, and it's way more than just another viral trend going wrong. This is one of those times that I'm having a report on something that's already gone too far and can't be taken back. So, fair warning, this isn't the most fun video.
Tonight, an arrest for murder in Virginia after teens tell authorities an age-old childhood prank, the ding-dong ditch, turned deadly. A high school...
There's no way they're calling it ding-dong ditch death. There's no way. Bruh. Like, I can see, like, YouTubers doing that. But as a news outlet? Oh my god.
senior shot to death while doing the stunt, his friends say, for a TikTok video.
I heard they were kicking in the door. We shall see what happens.
Now the homeowner, Tyler Chase Butler, arrested and accused of second-degree murder.
So let's set the scene. It's 3 a.m. in Spotsylvania County, Virginia. A group of high schoolers are out filming a prank for TikTok, the kind your parents probably called harmless mischief, and the internet calls, I guess, a ding-dong ditch prank. And we all know how this prank goes. It's older than the internet. You knock on someone's door, run off, and the trend part involves, I guess, getting the footage and posting it for clout.
Yeah, like, it's annoying, sure, but... Bro, it's whatever. Wait, did it happen at 3 a.m.? Did that fly over my head? Did that actually fly over my head?
Back. So, fair warning, this isn't the most fun video.
Tonight, an arrest for murder in Virginia after teens tell authorities an age-old childhood prank, the ding-dong ditch, turned deadly. A high school senior shot to death while doing the stunt, his friends say, for a TikTok video. Now the homeowner, Tyler Chase Butler, arrested and accused of second-degree murder. So let's set the scene. It's 3 a.m. in Spotsylvania County, Virginia.
Okay, that's why it flew above my head, because he's kind of like slurring his words there.
Arrested and accused of second-degree murder.
So let's set the scene. It's 3 a.m. in Spotsylvania County, Virginia. A group of high schoolers are out filming a prank for TikTok, the kind your parents probably called harmless mischief, and the internet calls, I guess, a ding.
Yeah, 3 a.m. is not a prank. You don't do that shit at 3 a.m.
Ditch prank. And we all know how this prank goes. It's older than the internet. You knock on someone's door, run off, and the trend part involves, I guess, getting the footage and posting it for clout. What could go wrong, right? Well, apparently everything. Everything went wrong. 18-year-old Michael Bosworth Jr., a high school senior, had no idea this would be the last video he'd ever film.
That's... You can't call that a ding-dong ditch. They're not dinging, they're not donging, and they're not ditching!
Just waiting to get shot. Okay, yeah, pretty much. Nice too. Anything for the content.
Did they just say we don't want to get shot? Wait, listen to that again.
This would be the last video he'd ever film.
Yeah, we just waiting to get shot. Okay, yeah.
Literally, they're saying we're just gonna get shot. They already know that they are at risk, and they're just making fun about it.
Nice too. Anything for the content. Anything for the content.
So he was out with
They're literally saying anything for the content. What the fuck?
2 friends at 3 in the morning. They hit a few houses in the neighborhood. Then they reached this home of a 27-year-old Tyler Chase Butler. Butler didn't just call the cops, he opened fire. According to the police, Bosworth was shot in the torso and later passed away in Washington Hospital. One friend was grazed by a bullet, and the last one got away. Butler was arrested days later and charged with second-degree murder, malicious wounding, then finally 2 counts of using a firearm and commission of a felony. No bond. He's currently sitting in Rappahannock Regional Jail right now. So overall,
I don't know, especially how the gun laws work in America, right? But they were attacking his door. He could have easily thought he was in danger. Each state has very different laws. It's on state-by-state basis. In Texas, he'd probably be freed quickly. There are no laws, that's the issue. Bro, there are laws. Like, bro, if someone did this to my door, I'd be terrified. A very good case was self-defense? Probably. Yeah, like... And they filmed it? Like, it was 3 a.m., they do this shit? I'd be thinking someone is trying to break into my place.
This is probably the worst possible way this prank could have gone. And look, I talk about how wrong pranks and this content can go here on this channel, but this one went beyond most of the videos I cover. Because at the end of the day, a high school senior is gone, a man's in jail, and the rest of us are now asking, was this a tragic misunderstanding or a predictable result of viral stupidity? Well, let's walk through what happened. And you can see in the clip, this wasn't just ringing doorbells. Witnesses say kids were kicking and banging on the door. Loud, aggressive, almost like they were trying to break in. And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier with the altered version of the ding dong ditch prank that's turned into a reckless TikTok trend. Here's myself from the past explaining this. It's called the TikTok door kick challenge. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of like ding.
Seriously? That actually is a TikTok trend? Are you for real? That's how you get shot where I live? Well, I just...
Dong ditching, as many of us grew up doing, unfortunately, except they got creative and they added some property damage into the mix, because why not? So it is what it is, I guess. After it gets dark, you run full speed from the street at someone's door and jump kick it. So not only are you damaging the door and the frame, but also waking and scaring the crap out of the people inside. Then on top of that, this is also happening in the US, and because of our Second Amendment, this can quickly become quite the extreme sport for the person doing this challenge. And you don't only have to worry about it.
Google, Virginia does have castle doctrine that allows home defense. However, the homeowner must have sufficient belief that the individual or individuals intend to cause bodily harm or death. And that's what the court case will likely be about for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like, this is gonna be going back and forth. Because you can argue for both sides.
Essentially armed homeowner, but also the police, because obviously this is illegal. But that's not stopping this trend from being so big and viral that these pranks are now happening all over the US. And depending on what state you're based in, the range of your penalties can really vary here, because some people are getting hit with like a basic criminal mischief charge, and others with breaking and entering, because surprise, surprise, if you kick in someone's door at night, that's a charge. So let's play some of these clips because it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Did you guys hear that? That wasn't a simple kick!
Yeah.
Bro, what? I live in Virginia, so I'm speaking from my knowledge of the state I live in. Most areas of Virginia are democratic, so they hate people using firearms in the state. So they are going to lean more left side than him, self-defense.
Frame didn't like that one. Okay, so according to the witnesses, that happened. And I unfortunately hinted here on my past video on how this could be a fatal challenge. Unfortunately for the guys who did it, it was. The homeowner didn't think it was funny. He thought it was a robbery. So he did what most people would do here in the US if they thought their house was being broken into. Grab a firearm.
The Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Office saying in a press release it was 3 a.m. Saturday morning when they got a call for a burglary in progress where shots were fired. Deputies found 2 people with gunshot wounds on the scene. 18-year-old Michael Bosworth Jr. was transported to a local hospital where he died just hours before his high school prom.
So what a waste, man. And therefore a TikTok trend, just for a little bit of clout. Why? What a waste. Bro, what a waste of a life, man. Bro.
Was hit in the torso. He later died in Mary Washington Hospital. Another teen was grazed and a third got away physically unharmed, but probably scarred for life. And this all happened hours before Bosworth's senior prom. His girlfriend wore his pink bow tie to the dance. That's not something anyone should ever have to do. And like I said, Butler's now sitting in jail, waiting for these charges to process. Overall, it's just an awful situation for everyone involved. Now, you might be asking, isn't Virginia a stand your ground state? Well, not quite. Virginia doesn't have a codified stand your ground law, but it does recognize something similar through what's called a castle doctrine. Basically, if someone breaks into your house and you have reasonable fear for your life, you can stand your ground and essentially eliminate the target. But the key here is you have to have a reasonable fear. But
kids, I have a question. Where the fuck are the parents that allow their kids out at 3 a.m.? I don't fucking know, man. I wouldn't allow my kid to be out at 3 a.m. Even if they're 18, right? Like, bruh, what are you doing? If you're still living with me while you're 18, you're not going out at 3 a.m. Like, Jesus.
and that is a big but. That legal protection gets really fuzzy if the threat is outside your home or if the person is retreating when you shoot. Because if Butler fired through the door or after they started running away, that might explain the second-degree charge. So let's break down the charges here. First, the second-degree murder charge here. The penalty in Virginia can be anywhere from like 5 to 40 years in prison, which, I mean, that's a terribly wide range. He also has a malicious wounding charge, which has a potential of 5 to 20 years in prison. And that one also has a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison if a weapon was used. And finally, he has 2 counts of using a firearm in the commission of a felony. For a first-time offender, that's a 3-year mandatory minimum. And because Butler is charged with 2 counts, that's a minimum of 8 years just for the gun charges. And that has to be served back to back in addition to the sentences for the other felonies.
Jesus.
So the total...
What a waste all around. A life was lost. This guy is now in prison. Was probably going to be locked away for a few years. And for what? For TikTok.
Potential sentence here, if convicted on all counts, is a minimum of likely around 13 years and a maximum of 65 plus years, which is just, it's insane. I mean, that is a hell of a way to ruin your life in 2 seconds for both the shooter who might spend life in prison and the kid who lost his.
Yeah.
Of course, final sentencing would really depend on plea deals, whether charges are dropped, the trial outcome, and how the judge chooses to structure the sentences. And some people are probably saying, good, well, he ended the life of a kid, or well, 18-year-old. But a lot of the internet are actually defending the shooter because he very well might have thought he was being robbed. Like, if you're jolted up at 3 in the morning by a loud thud at your front door, you're most likely acting in a daze of flight or flight, and you're not fully awake yet. And then you just have all these like unknown details, like what if he had a few drinks before going to bed, was woken up in a jolt? Like there's so much that could be there. But
like obviously it could have been done maliciously, but I'm more on the side of the shooter in this case, because it's 3 a.m. 4 18-year-olds are jumping at your door. Like, Jesus, all of this could have been prevented by not attempting to kick down someone's door at 3 a.m. Like, legit. God.
Again, as I said, we don't have the full details. Obviously, there's a big difference in firing at your front door thinking you're being broken into versus running after and firing on the people who are already fleeing. We just don't know what happened. Either way, it's just another story of a viral prank and an absolute tragedy. And it's frustrating to see this because I've already covered this trend 6 months ago where I even said, this is going to end horribly wrong. And it did. And no matter who's at fault here, you don't kick people's doors in at 3 in the morning. Actually, you don't kick people's doors in at all. Like, don't do this trend. It is absolutely not worth the upside because ding-dong ditching apparently just isn't what it used to be. It's not a giggling
no one's doing the ding-dong of the ding-dong ditch, and they're not ditching either.
Sprint down the driveway anymore.
At least those weren't.
Forceful of drop kicks to the door at 3 in the morning in a country where, you know, being allowed to shoot someone at your door is on a state-by-state basis. This is not a prank. This is how you cut your life short. But unfortunately, I mean, this trend isn't going anywhere because there's more and more of these clips on TikTok going viral.
Check this. Oh my God, CT, those damn SWAT officers started this kick the door in trend. Okay, bro. That's... Zero parenting. Zero parenting done, man. At least those two just knocked. Those two just knocked, okay? We can look away from those two.
And look, I'm obviously trying to be sensitive to this because this is an awful tragedy. It really is. But I'm shocked someone hasn't been shot from this before now. Because look, Michael Boswell Jr., he wasn't a hardened criminal. He was a 3-sport athlete, lacrosse, football, wrestling, a senior at Massaponax High School with his whole life ahead of him. His girlfriend of 3 years wore his bow tie to prom. His classmates held a vigil. The entire community is in mourning. But no amount of tragedy erases the reality of what him and his friends did was dangerous.
Yeah.
It was reckless. That was a stupid decision that cut his life short. So now...
And Atazi does not mention what those 3 or 4 or whatever teens were saying at the start of the video. They were literally saying we're gonna get shot. Hee hee. Everything for fame. Hee hee. Like, bro.
We're kind of left in this gray zone. Legally and morally, was Butler's fear justified? If so, the charges may not hold. If not, yeah, his life is over, basically. If the teens were already fleeing and if the shooting happened through the door, then we might be looking at a case of excessive force. But also, even if he shot through the door, I mean, there's still room for an argument there, even though that is a terrible judgment. But I mean, it's just such a shitty situation because who is operating at a logical state being jolted up at 3 in the morning? So yeah, either way, before you rush to a judgment on either side, understand this is a messy, tragic mix of bad judgment and viral clout chasing. I mean, it should be obvious by now, but please don't jump kick people's doors. We've seen pranksters get punched, arrested, and even shot at before, but now another one has passed away, and this probably won't be the last.
Yeah, how many more need to pass away for people to stop doing this shit? Because we have quite a few people now that unfortunately passed away because of stupid TikTok trends. Like, how many more need to die? Like, Jesus Christ. To a degree, natural selection. To a degree, right? Fuck around and find out. But do you really need to fuck around that hard? Do you really need to fuck around that hard, man? Like, Jesus Christ.
Unfortunately, it's sad. This is a tragedy. I guess internet culture has just blurred the line between a joke and a threat, and how consequences of crossing that line are now becoming more and more serious. So, I mean, overall, if you're a teen thinking about trying this kind of thing, please don't. If you're a homeowner, you better know the law before you pull that trigger because both sides can lose everything in seconds. And I guess to everyone else, especially prank creators and IRL streamers, maybe rethink what you do for content. Stay safe, stay smart, and please, let's keep these pranks harmless at least, because I don't think anyone wants the outcome we had in today's video. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
That's crazy. That is actually crazy. Common sense is no longer common. That is true. Jesus, the title, Tectone. Come on, man. Come on, Tectone. Either way, thanks for watching.